Welcome to Getting Real. I'm your host, Monick Halm. And I want to start by asking you something. What if the real reason you're not getting ahead in real estate or in life has nothing to do with how much money you have in your bank account, how much knowledge you have, or how much experience you have? What if the missing piece isn't a bigger deal, bigger bank account, but a stronger circle of people all around you? Well, that's what today's episode is all about. They say your network is your net worth, but what if I told you that your network is also your happiness? Right? There was a Harvard study that proves relationships are practically everything. This is a mind blowing 80-year study on happiness and success. Picture this: 1938, a group of Harvard researchers decide to track the lives of over 700 men. These men were rich, poor, privileged, struggling, cross section of society, and they set about studying all these guys to answer one question: what makes a good life? Fast forward 80 years. So they were studying these men and then their children, and in some cases, grandchildren, and then some spouses, questioning them and their intimates. And they found out that the answer to what makes a good life was not money, was not career success, was not education, was not even health. The number one factor that determined happiness and longevity was having strong, meaningful relationships. So the main takeaways from this study were this: loneliness is toxic. People with poor relationships had more health issues and they died younger. Another key takeaway from that study was that it wasn't about how many people you knew. There were people that had tons of superficial relationships and they were not happier. It had to do with the quality of the relationships. The more you could be open and honest and real with the people, even having a few, one, two, three people that you could be super real with, was way better than having 50 superficial relationships. Another takeaway was that good relationships protect your brain. People in supportive circles literally had better memory and focus as they aged. So, more money does not equal more happiness. Better, strong connection and great relationships equals more happiness. So, if you want to build wealth and be happy, which I think we do, because if you have a lot of money in your bank account, but you're not happy, in my opinion, that is not wealth, right? So being wealthy, being abundant means that you get to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, right? And it's a wealthy life, a rich life is fun. It's filled with love and health and all of the things. So if you want to build wealth and be happy, you want to start investing in people as much as you invest in real estate or anything else. I want to tell you a personal story of how a mastermind took me from 2 doors to over 1,000 doors in 1 year. This is the moment I got out of my way and everything changed. Um, So just to give you a quick, for anybody who heard that term mastermind and was like, what is that? Well, there's a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, he talks about this idea of masterminds. So let me tell you a little story before I get into my story, the story of Think and Grow Rich. So Napoleon Hill is a young reporter, and he got to meet Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the wealthiest men in the world at the time. And and Andrew Carnegie told him, I will open up my Rolodex, my book, my address book to all the successful people I know. And I want you to interview them and write a book about what makes for success. He wasn't getting paid for this, but he got a lot more out of it, right? Than he would have if he'd just gotten paid. He got the connection to these incredible people who were super successful. So he got to not just speak with Carnegie, but Rockefeller and Ford and just all the most successful men and women of that day. And he ended up distilling the wisdom that he learned in this book, Think and Grow Rich. And one of the key things that these folks had in common is that they would get together with a group of their peers and with a common, with this, and they would just talk about things and they would support one another, right? So that was the mastermind. So somebody would come and say, hey, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. And somebody else will say, well, I know this person that could help you with that. Or have you thought about doing it this way? And through the synergy of the group, right? It became 1 + 1 = 11. There was this magical compounding effect when a group of like-minded people got together. So that's a mastermind. And so I was in a mastermind. I was in a mastermind with an incredible group of people too. I was very lucky to be invited into this group. One of my mastermind peers was a guy named Kyle Wilson, who had been Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner and president of Jim Rohn International. For those of you who don't necessarily know Jim Rohn was almost like the grandfather of motivational speaking and personal development. He was actually Tony Robbins' mentor, and he's an incredible guy. Definitely, if you have not checked out Jim Rohn, go on YouTube, listen to him, or read his books. Highly recommend. So I had the great, wonderful fortune of being in a mastermind with Kyle Wilson, who happens to be very connected to lots of people. One of the beautiful things about being in that mastermind is that it was a community. It was a group of us, and there were 6 of us. And it was a group where we could come in and we were all entrepreneurs. And we could be there and we could get real. We were there to talk about, we could celebrate what was good. And we could talk about our challenges and where we needed help and where we were stuck. And that is the definition of these supportive relationships, right? That we talk about in terms of what brings you happiness, like people that you can get real with. So I am at this point, I'd been flipping houses for a while. I'd had success with flipping houses, and we'd started flipping after the market crashed. So we got in at a great time when houses were really on sale, and many people were scared of being in the market. So we got in a great time. We could find properties, no problem, made tons of mistakes, but because of the way the market was going, it was very forgiving of those mistakes. Now, fast forward, it's 2015. Houses are not as on sale compared to now, right? There were 10 years later, they were very on sale relative to where they are now, but they were not as on sale as when we started. And it was a lot more competitive. And flipping is a job. I wanted to be able to buy and hold. I wanted to be able to get a property, bring in tenants, and just have passive cash flow. But I couldn't find anything in LA that made any sense. So I was talking to my mastermind and just kind of sharing my challenges and my struggles. And Kyle said to me, he said, I have a friend who's coming to LA tomorrow night. His name is Robert Helms. He's the host of the Real Estate Guys Radio podcast. He's done hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate investing. You should meet him. And I was like, sure. Yeah. Like, he obviously has experience that I need to know, more experience than me. So sure. So that next night, and I remember it like today, like it was yesterday, it was October 15th of 2015. And we went out to dinner and I had this 10-minute one-on-one exchange with Robert. And he was asking me what I was doing. And I told him about the flipping and also looking for something in LA. I was looking for a fourplex, but I couldn't find anything that made any financial sense. And he told me two things that completely changed the game for me. One thing was he said that he goes, LA is a tough market. I always say, live where you want to live, invest where the numbers make sense. And I went, oh, because until he said that, I had this limiting belief that I had to invest where I could drive to my property, touch it, self manage it. It hadn't crossed my mind that I didn't have to invest where I live. So, literally, that opened up the whole world to me. And then the next thing he said was, I could get this fourplex by myself, but I'd be limiting myself to my own capital and credit. Alternatively, I could bring a group of investors together and we could purchase a 100 or 200 unit apartment building. And he started telling me about the benefits of that. That blew my mind. I was like, 100 or 200 unit apartment building? What? Until he said that, I thought only billionaires could invest in something like that. It had never crossed my mind that someone like me could do that. And when he said that, like it totally shifted my mindset, opened me up and and I went home that night. I told my husband, there's this thing, it's called syndication. You bring groups of investors together to purchase larger commercial properties. Let's learn how to do this. And we got tickets that night for a syndication seminar starting in January. And that year, 2016, then that we went to that seminar in January. We had 2 doors, ended 2016 with 1,012 doors. So it made a big difference, right? It was a quantum leap. But even beyond that, one of the things that I remember thinking when I heard Robert Helms talking about this 100 or 200 unit apartment building was like, wow, the people around me think of fourplex as a big deal. Like, I want to be around people that are thinking that big because I know the value of relationships. If you are in rooms with people who are doing things like that, then you are more likely to do things like that. So when I went to that event in January, I signed up for a mastermind, a high-end real estate mastermind with Robert Helms to learn how to do that. Now, I ended up being for about 6 months the only woman with 19 men. And that eventually led to Real Estate Investor Goddesses because I wanted to be able to help, create that same magic but from the feminine. So that's a whole other story. But the moral of this story, though, is that it was through these relationship where I could be real and I could share my struggles and challenges um, and with people that I felt comfortable and safe with, and also people who would help by introducing me to other people. That changed everything, right? So that really was like, your network is your net worth. But beyond that, I was with people that I loved, people that like lifted me up, that felt good. And I was really happy. And I also do this with my husband, who I love. And, we work well together. And I'll have a whole other episode with him this month about how you can invest with your partner. But right now, I'm just talking about just in general relationships. And it's really, really valuable. So not only does that help with real estate, because real estate is a relationship business, but it also helps with your happiness. Now, I want to talk about the 3 C's of a strong investment partner, or why you should date before you marry. avoiding nightmare partnerships and finding the right people. Because you want to know what's worse than a bad real estate deal? A bad real estate partnership. Seriously, a bad deal might lose you money, but a bad partner, they can ruin your business, your reputation, and your sanity. And I know this very, very personally. I ended up partnering with somebody who ended up being a fraud. And that poor decision to partner with that person did a number on my business, my reputation, and my sanity. And I was this close to quitting because I was just so devastated by that whole situation, and the fact that investors got caught in the melee. I've learned a lot, but one of the main things I've learned is be really careful about who you work with, because it matters so much. And it takes a long time to build a great reputation. And your reputation is so important in real estate. And it can take a snap to destroy it. And a bad partner, if you tie yourself to somebody else, then it is not good. So before you get into business with someone, you really want to look at the 3 C's. So the 3 C's of a strong business partner are: the first C, and these are in order of importance. So the first C is character. Are they trustworthy? Do they say what they say they will? Like, who are they, of integrity? And what are the things that in terms of character are important for you? Maybe for you, and it, like, obviously, well, I think it's obvious that you want somebody who's super honest, who will do what they say they'll do, who you can trust. But it also might be important for you with character to have somebody who's really fun and playful. Right? Maybe you want to have fun and you want to play when you are a business. And so somebody who would be really rigid and is not a good fit. Maybe, when you are in business, you're all business and you don't want somebody who's too playful. And that's not a good fit. So what kind of character would be a good match for you? All right. But I think for everybody, you want somebody who is of high integrity, and who is honest. Next is commitment. So there are a couple of ways of looking at commitment. One is commitment to the project, right? So, and this is not just with partners, this is with any team member, right? You want to look at these 3 C's. Well, let's say you hire a contractor and they are not committed to your project. You need them to show up at certain times and to do the things that they need to do. But they have 10 other projects they're working on and they're not showing up for you. Not going to work. Same with a partner, right? You need them to do the things that they say they're going to do and they're not doing them. That won't work. So they need to be committed to the project. Also, it's important that they are committed to the mission and the vision and the values that you hold. For example, I believe in working with people and having relationships for life, ideally. Right? So it's not about being transactional. It's not a one-off. I want to be able to work with people again and again and again. So when you have that value, right, it's a very different frame, because you want it to be a really great experience for everyone so that you'll keep going. If somebody doesn't share that value and it's just like, we're doing this, but I'm going to get as much as I can and screw you, and screw it, that's not a good fit. Also, I believe in investing where we can leave a property in a community better than we found it. It's not about getting every dollar out of a deal. It's not about being a slumlord. So I would not want to partner with somebody who doesn't share that value. So what are, what's your mission, your vision, your values? You want to get clear about what that is for you, so you can have you can partner with somebody who shares that commitment. And then the last C is capacity. Do they actually have the skills, the network or the capital, whatever it is that they are meant to bring to the table? Do they have that capacity? And one of my I learned from this woman, Beth Clifford, who said, work with the best. They won't cost you money, they'll make you money. So even beyond the capacity of, yeah, they can do the work, I kind of like mediocre, just getting by. I like to look for who is the best at this, because, when you're working with an A player, right, they'll bring up your game. Plus, A players tend to play with other A players. So they will have a network of people that are great. And that leads you to other people that have the 3 C's. So character, commitment, capacity. If you find those in the person, that's going to be a good fit. Now, it might seem that way at first, right? So you meet somebody and you check them out and they seem to have the 3 C's and it looks like it's going to be great. Here's a tip. Don't commit too soon. Start small. One of the things I learned from Kyle Wilson from my mastermind, he gave me the advice of fail small, right? So work together on a mini project before going all in, because, and see how it goes in a little way. And if that works, then you can go bigger. Because breaking up a business partnership, like once you're in a business partnership, that is a marriage. And it's not easy to break up a marriage, right? So yeah, why failing small before you fail big? Why you want to test partnerships first? So imagine this, you're about to marry someone. You've had like one amazing first date, right? You went to coffee and that coffee turned into dinner and turned into a movie and it was so great. So the next day you go out and get married. That would be kind of crazy. My new son-in-law's brother had something after 10 days of knowing somebody, went to Vegas and got married. Wasn't quite the first date, but that marriage lasted about 2 months and then went really bad. So generally, you do not, and it was actually easier for him to get out of that marriage than it was for me to get out that bad partnership within for business. So don't jump into a massive real estate deal with somebody you barely know. Before you start, you sign on a dotted line, before you buy something big together, do this. Start with a small project. I do one little thing together before committing to the massive business, right? Make sure you align your values and your vision. Have a conversation about what your vision is, your mission, your values before you start. Money matters, but even more so are ethics and goals and alignment. And look for red flags early. If they're already flaking or making excuses, or you catch them in little white lies that don't seem that bad, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you start to see those things early, run. And I think it's Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. So lesson, date before you get married in business. It'll save you thousands of dollars and even more headaches. So let's talk about the ROI of strong relationships in real estate. Why relationships are the best investment you'll ever make. So if you want to know the secret of finding off-market deals, securing great funding, scaling your portfolio, to leverage, it is relationships. So here's what strong relationships get you in real estate and get you access to off-market opportunities. The best opportunities are often not on the MLS. They come from your network. Better relationship opens you up to easier financing and investors. People will invest in you if they know, like, and trust you, not just the deal, right? I was just hearing from a friend of mine who's his father is a multi-billionaire, and his father always told him, you invest in the person, not the deal, right? You got to trust the person first. Advice from the billionaire. Do that, right? So that's the value of that network. And it's a faster path to success, right? When you know somebody, it was because I happened to be in that mastermind and I knew Kyle, who knew Robert, who opened me up to this whole new world. And then in going into Robert's world and syndication, then I met all of these people who then became partners and investors, and that was the beginning. And it's all about relationships. So instead of spending years trying to figure it all out by yourself, learn from the right people. So here's a lesson. The best investment you'll ever make isn't in real estate, it's in people. Now, I want to end with a trinity, which is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. First, I brag that it's an old brag, but I brag that I took action after I first met. And brag, I've taken action, and I've always opt to put myself in the environment, in the room with the people. Right? I brag that I was in that original mastermind. I brag, I said yes to going to that dinner. I brag, I said yes to going to that event in January. I brag, I said yes to joining the other mastermind. I brag that repeatedly I put myself in the room with people that can help me to grow, and with people that I will, I can build real relationships with. And I brag that I have incredible, incredible relationships. I'm so grateful. And I feel like I'm going to be one of those really happy people because I am one of those really happy people because I have like incredible husband, incredible relationships with family members. I have incredible friends. One of my friends, Monica, was just here. We had a 6 hour long date and we got to go so deep and talk about real stuff. And I just saw my friend Kim yesterday and we got to go deep and talk about real stuff. And I just have a lot of friends where I can do that. And so I brag that. And for gratitude, I'm really grateful for my community of people. I'm grateful for the goddesses because we have created a sisterhood. We have like and it's a place where you can be really real, where you can cry, where you can laugh, where you can brag, where you can celebrate. And I'm so grateful to all the women that are in the Real Estate Investor Goddesses community. And I desire for every person listening to have those meaningful, powerful relationships that lead to an abundant life of wealth and happiness. And I desire that for everyone. All right, so conclusion. In the end, if you want more wealth, more opportunities, and more happiness, invest in your relationships. Find a mastermind, a mentor, or trusted community. It will change your life. And I want to invite you to check out our Millionaire Real Estate Investor Goddesses program and get on and apply and see about joining our mastermind, our community of women that are up to big things, a community where you can be real and you can have that support. So I invite you to that. Now remember, your next level of success is just one introduction, one relationship away. And the most important people in your life just might be the ones you haven't met yet, but you'll never meet them if you don't put yourself in the right rooms. So that's the episode of Getting Real. Get real, stay real, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.